The summer's calling. The summer's calling. If the
What is ransomware? Nowadays, we humans using internet for many things, works, playing something, study and etc. It is fun, but did you know if there is one problem that can make our life with internet not fun anymore? It's because of ransomware. Here are the explanation.
Hello and hi, my name is Faris. So we're gonna talk about ransomware. Do you know ransomware and how it affects us? What is ransomware? First, we need to know the definitions. What is malware? Malware is a short malicious software is a blanket term for viruses, worms, trojan and other harmful computer program hackers use to write instructions and gain access to sensitive information. After you have a brief understanding in the malware, we can continue with ransomware. Ransomware is a type malware that prevents users from accessing their system or personal files. The victim's system or personal files were encrypted by the malware. The attacker then demands a ransom from the victim to restore access to the affected files upon payment. Users are given instruction and need to pay a fee in the range of a few $100s to $1,000, payable to cybercriminals in Bitcoin to get the decryption key. Ransomware actors often target and threaten to sell or leak exfiltrated data or authentication information if the ransom is not paid. Assume all sensitive data on the machine was compromised, including username and password for internal or web resources, payment information, email addresses of contact, and more. So let's go to the history of ransomware. The first ransomware, known as PC Cyborg or Edge Trojan, was created in the late 1980s by Harvard-trained evolutionary biologist Joseph. PC Cyborg would encrypt all files in the C directory after 90 reboots and then demand the user renew their license by sending $189 by mail to PC Cyborg Corp. The encryption used was simple enough to reverse, so it posed a minor threat to those who were computer savvy. The second one. The first contemporary ransomware program were reported in Russia in 2005. It is a ransomware using asymmetric encryption, RSA. Even though the hacker used symmetric keys for the encryption, the keys were protected with RSA. Hence, victims need to pay in order to get the private key to get back all the data. In 2013, CryptoLocker was released. CryptoLocker is the first cryptographic malware that is spread by downloads from a compromised website and or sent to business professionals in the form of email attachments that were made to look like customer complaints controlled through the Game Over Zeus botnet, which has been capturing online banking information since 2011. One of the largest and most serious ransomware attacks took place in the spring of 2017 and was called WannaCry. In the course of the attack, approximately 200,000 victims from roughly 150 countries were asked to pay a ransom in Bitcoin. How does ransomware spread? There are many ways that ransomware can spread. Here we produce some of the main ways on how ransomware spread. First one is phishing. It will deliver via fake emails that appears to be legitimate. Attachment that come to the victim in an email masquerading as a file they should trust. The sender might be fake to be someone known to the recipient or the subject matter relevant to the recipient job. Second one, SMSing, also called SMS phishing. It uses a text message to get recipient to navigate to a site or enter personal information on their device. Common approaches use authentication messages or messages that appear to be from a financial or other service provider. Some SMS phishing ransomware attempt to propagate themselves by sending themselves to all contacts in their device contact list. The third one, phishing. In similar manner to email and SMS, phishing uses voicemail to deceive the victim. The voicemail recipient is instructed to call a number that is often spoofed to appear legitimate. If the victim calls the number, they are taken through a series of actions to correct some made-up problem. The instructions include having the victim install malware on their computer. The fourth one is social media. They will convince a victim to open a downloaded image from a social media site or take some other compromising action. Their carrier might be music, video, or other active content that once opened infects the user system. And the last one is instant messaging. Instant messaging clients can be hacked by cyber criminals and used to distribute malware to the victim contact list. This technique was one of the methods used to distribute the Loki ransomware to unsuspecting recipients. There is a top 5 sector targeted by ransomware. So there are some sectors that mainly targeted by the ransomware attacker. So let's see for the first one. Healthcare. Organization has been also highly targeted even prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Ransomware gangs explicitly target healthcare more than any other industry sector. Understanding that holding critical application and patient data hostage can put life at risk, so healthcare institutions are likelier to quickly pay the ransom. The second one is government. Government agencies frequently contract private companies to provide goods and services. As a result, they typically share sensitive information with these institutions to perform their specific job function. And the third one is financial services. Cyber criminals are consciously aware that financial institutions have the means to pay ransomware debts, therefore they continue to target this company. 71% of CEOs in the banking sector find the cybersecurity is the biggest threat to stakeholder and customer trust, business prospect, and customer service. And the fourth one is education. Especially college and universities have been among the top ransomware targets. Students often engage in risky online behavior that expose them to ransomware attacks, such as tweeting emails attachments without appropriate warnings and visiting websites trafficking in pirated entertainment. The highly open and interconnected nature of campuses opens up multiple points of malware infiltration. Find a weak link and ransomware can spread quickly from student to faculty to staff PCs and servers. And the last one is manufacturing. These organizations in this sector need to be in operation around the clock, whether there is running a factory production line or operating a utilities plant. If they can provide these services, there can be wide-ranging impacts further down the supply chain. They will feel more pressure to pay the ransom as period of inoperability have significant impacts to their customer. Now we are discussing the impact of ransomware. Ransomware can have many effects on victims. These victims are mainly targeted at home users and business. So, what impact does it have on them? First, temporary or permanent loss of sensitive or proprietary information. And the second one is disruption to regular operation. And the third one is financially losses incurred to restore system and files. And the fourth one is privacy have been revealed. For the business part, there will loss of crucial information, business downtime, productivity loss, business disruption in the post-attack period, damage of hosted system data and files, and loss of reputation of the victimized company. How should we deal with ransomware? There are a few steps may help you prevent ransomware attacks. First, isolate the infection. The rate and speed of ransomware detection is critical in combating fast-moving attacks before they succeed in spreading across networks and encrypting vital data. The first thing to do when a computer is suspected of being infected is to isolate it from other computer and storage devices. Disconnect it from the network, both wired and Wi-Fi, from any external storage devices. Be aware that there may be more than just one patient zero, meaning that the ransomware may have entered your organization or home through multiple computers, or may be dormant and not yet shown itself on some systems. Treat all connected and network computers with suspicion and apply measures to ensure that all systems are not infected. Second one is identify the infection. Most often the ransomware will identify itself when it asks for ransom. Identifying the ransomware will help you understand what type of ransomware you have, how it propagates, what type of files it encrypts, and maybe what your options are for removal and disinfection. It also will enable you to report the attack to the authorities, which is recommended. The third one is report to the authorities. You will be doing everyone a favor by reporting all ransomware attacks to the authorities. The relevant department urge ransomware victims to report ransomware incidents regardless of the outcome. Victim reporting provides law enforcement with a greater understanding of the threat, provide justification for ransomware investigation, and contribute relevant information to ongoing ransomware cases. Knowing more about victims and their experience with ransomware will help the relevant department to determine who is behind the attack and how they are identifying or targeting victims. And the fourth one, determine your option. First, to pay the ransom. Second, to try to remove the malware, and third is to wipe the system and reinstall from scratch. It's generally considered a bad idea to pay the ransom. Paying the ransom encourages more ransomware, and in many cases, the unlocking of the encrypted files is not successful. Even if you decide to pay, it is very possible you won't get back your data. That leaves two other options: removing the malware and selectively restoring your system, or wiping everything and reinstalling from scratch. And the last one is restore or start fresh. You have the choice of trying to remove the malware from your system, or wiping your system and reinstalling from safe backup and clean OS and application sources. There are two ways to restore your system. The first one is get rid of the infection. There are internet sites and software packages that claim to be able to remove ransomware from system. Whether you can successfully and completely remove an infection is up for debate. A working decryptor doesn't exist for every non-ransomware, and unfortunately, It's true that the newer the ransomware, the more sophisticated it's likely to be, and the less time to the good guys have had developed a decryptor. And the second one is wipe all system completely. Formatting the hard disk in your system will ensure that no remnants of the malware remain. If you have been following a sound backup strategy, you should have copies of all your documents, media, and important files right up to the time of the infection. Be sure to determine the date of infection as well as you can from malware files data, messages, and other information you have uncovered about how particular malware operates. Consider that an infection might have been dormant in your system for a while before it activated and made significant changes to your system. Identifying and learning about the particular malware that attack your system will enable you to understand how the malware functions and what is your best strategy should be for restoring your system. Lastly, there are some ways that you can do to prevent the ransomware attack. Firstly, employ a data backup and recovery plan for all critical information. Perform and test regular backup to limit the impact of data or system loss and to expedite the recovery process. Note that network-connected backup can also be affected by ransomware. Critical backup should be isolated from the network for optimum protection. Second, keep your operating system and software up to date with the latest patches. Vulnerable applications and operating systems are the target of most attacks. Ensuring these are patched with the latest update greatly reduces the number of exploitable entry points available to an attacker. And the third one, maintain up-to-date antivirus software and scan all the software downloaded from the internet prior to executing. And the fourth one is restrict user ability permission to install and run unwanted software applicants. Apply the principle of least privilege to all systems and services. Restricting this privilege may prevent malware from running or limit its capability to spread through the network. And the fifth one, avoid enabling macros from email attachment. If a user opens attachment and enable macros, embedded code will execute the malware on the machine. And last one, do not follow unsolicited web links in emails. Phishing is most often seen in the form of malicious emails pretending to be from credible source like people, department, or organization related to the university. That's all. Thank you.